everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Before I turn in, I saw something that was pretty sleazy. Yeah, it was pretty sleazy. It was from Cenk Uygur of TYT. I'm going to play it in a moment, but what it boils down to is Cenk Uygur is part of Wolfpack, wolf-pack.com. The thought of being to get money out of politics. He wants to get a constitutional amendment going from state to state to state to essentially put it up and go around Congress. The federal government is bought. Because the federal government is bought, the idea is there's nothing that can get through to get money out of politics. Alright, that's his position. Fair enough. Common Cause is another progressive group. Common Cause thinks this is a bad idea. Now, Cenk attacks them in this video without ever describing why they believe it's a bad idea. They believe it's a bad idea because if you go get a constitutional convention, you don't control what takes place at that convention. The very act of calling it. You can't constrain what those people are going to do when they open the Constitution up for revision. The Republican groups have been trying to have a constitutional convention for decades. They're at the point where they're, I think, like 4 or 5 states away from being able to call a constitutional convention and rewriting the Constitution. Who's going to write that Constitution, by the way? Who's going to make that update? Cenk Uygur and Wolfpack, they full well believe that they can get the constitutional amendment through and they can somehow, even though it's perfectly unclear how, constrain what those people are going to write when they open the Constitution up. It's called a runaway convention. They can do whatever they want to. Once the Constitution is open, there's no way to constrain those people's actions. If you think that you can open the Constitution up and just say, yeah, we just want to get money out of politics and corporations are not people too. That sounds great. But prove to me, establish to me with no doubt whatsoever associated with it, that when you open up the Constitution, that the Republicans that are sitting in those seats, that those Republicans are just going to say, all right, we're just going to leave it alone at this particular point. Yeah, I disagree. My issue here is not so much that you two can disagree on it. That's fine. Disagreement's perfectly okay. But you should at least characterize them fairly. And you shouldn't necessarily just attack them willy-nilly just because you don't like the position that they're taking. Their position is perfectly valid. And at no point in this rant, this diatribe, or this propaganda, did you ever explain or engage their point? You didn't engage their point. I suspect because you know their point is legitimate, and their point is absolutely valid, and it completely contradicts the plan that you are undertaking. Understand me, I'm not so much against their plan. If there was some way to make sure that these guys couldn't get in and change the Constitution in some way that's going to adversely affect the American public, I'd be perfectly behind it. But who's going to write that Constitution? Who's going to change it? Who has control of the majority of the states? Republicans own 66 out of 99 state legislatures. Who's writing that updated version of the Constitution? Do you full well believe that with Republicans owning that much real estate, that whatever they write in that particular Constitution is going to stop short of putting something in that doesn't advantage them, literally advantage them at the basic of the document itself, not them putting in a law, but putting in an amendment, putting in something else that substantially, adversely affects the American public in some way? He believes that these guys are absolutely bought. Fine. He believes that 99% of the state legislatures, or the people who are running the state legislatures, win. Depending upon, I think it's 90%, depending upon who has the most money. Fine, I agree. I agree with all that. Who does he think is going to be sent for that constitutional convention? Who? Who do you think is going? Who do you think is going? You think with 66 out of 99 state legislatures, that the people who are going to that convention are going to be progressives? Is it possible that you're getting some Republicans purely because they want the convention, not because they care about your Citizens United bill? Is that possible? Is it possible at all? Because if that's possible at all, you're essentially playing into the hands of the people who want to open that Constitution up to make those changes that they've been trying to change for decades. Let's watch it.
I told you that Common Cause fought against Wolfpack in New Mexico. Wolfpack volunteers had won a historic and brave fight in the New Mexico Senate, and it was wonderful. We got most of the Democrats to vote with us and some Republicans as well, because over 90% of Americans want to get money out of politics, and Wolfpack is asking the states to call for a convention to get money out of politics. All we want is free and fair elections, free from the corrupting influence of money, and fair enough that anybody can run. Well, the elites in Washington are not happy about that. The right wing is not happy about it. The Koch brothers fought us in New Jersey. They testified against us and lost. And now apparently the so-called left-wing groups in DC like Common Cause are not happy about that. But I want to show you the effect of what happened. So these are wonderful people. They're all volunteers, as you're going to see here. They've never worked in politics before. These are actual volunteers in New Mexico. These are the guys who got the Senate to vote yes and then got the rug pulled out from underneath them. They are wonderful and pleasant people. Now, what they don't tell you at the end is that they didn't get a vote. It's not that they ran out of time. We know now for a fact, and the legislators in New Mexico confirmed it for us. Groups like Common Cause came in and prevented the vote. They had plenty of time. They said, no, if we vote, we'll lose. Don't let them vote. Kill it in the middle of the night. Now I want you to meet the people who are actually on the ground fighting for real change and to get money out of politics. Watch.
Research scientist, software developer,
senior in high school,
business owner and a mom,
graphic designer,
student at the University of New Mexico,
naturopathic physician,
farmer,
volunteer at Wolfpack.
There was a reason why the ability to call an Article 5 convention was put into the Constitution, so that the people can be a check against Congress. Congress is doing what they want for their donors. They are not concerned with what their constituents want.
At that point, it's just manipulative. It really is. He never engaged their point. He never engaged their argument as to why they believe that this is a bad idea. Now look, you can disagree with Common Cause. Don't misunderstand me. I'm making the point that if he's going to do something like this, you should at least engage their argument, not just attack them as something other than a progressive group. He acting like these guys are against him unilaterally on everything. They're not. They're not against him across the board. They're against him on this particular thing because they recognize a threat that he's completely ignoring. It's nice that all those people are involved in the political process. That's good. They should be. That's good. But they're irrelevant. Understand what I mean? They're irrelevant. The argument that Common Cause is making is opening that Constitution is going to cause significant issues that could debilitate any change in this country. They can put a structural advantage for the other party in the Constitution itself. That's the argument. That's the case that Common Cause is making. That is a damn good case, and it is a case that should be addressed, or at the very least, hit head on, ducking it, avoiding it, pretending like it doesn't exist, pretending like they don't have a point, pretending like they're attacking you just to be attacking you. It's somewhat duplicitous, and it makes it look like your case is far weaker than what it may actually be if you just hit it on the head. If you believe Common Cause is wrong, make your argument as to why you believe they're wrong. This is gross. You're showing all these people in some kind of propaganda ad like, oh, look at all these people joining for a cause. And look at that dirty Common Cause who calls itself a liberal group. Gut them at the knees. Let's watch the rest.
I love these guys. They put their heart and soul into it, and to have it get pulled out from underneath them at the last moment, very discouraging, and especially when it's a so-called progressive group doing it.
Common Cause is not a so-called progressive group. They are a progressive group. You just don't like what they're doing. You don't get to reclassify them just because you don't like what they're doing. Should we reclassify you because you were voting for Hillary Clinton? Should we? Should we reclassify you? Because when they cheated Sanders, you turned around and supported the people who were cheating Sanders. Essentially using this argument of, just because I'm voting for her don't mean I'm supporting her. You don't get to reclassify people. You can have difference of opinions without trying to delegitimize their position, which is effectively what you're trying to do. You're trying to say, well, TYT has a massive audience of 4 million people or whatever. Yes, that's true. because we have such a massive audience, to some degree, we're trying to define what it means to be on the left or what it means to be progressive. Yeah, that's not true. That is not true. You don't get to do that. They disagree with you. Get over it. Get over it.
Look, they mentioned the ACLU briefly there. You might be surprised by this, they're pro-Citizens United. But it's not a big issue right now because they've only in a limited number of states. It's Common Cause that is fighting us in every single state. It's Common Cause that uses their lobbyists. It's Common Cause that ends the votes. It's Common Cause who doesn't want a convention. It's Common Cause who doesn't want real change in America. It's Common Cause that claims that they're for getting money out of politics, but while you're not looking, fights for money in politics.
And while you're not looking, you're being immensely sleazy in making these arguments. This is gross. Common Cause doesn't want change in America. Is it possible that they do want change, they just don't want it in the way that you're talking about? You're making this thing like you're so hurt by what they're doing. They disagree with you. That's politics. Get over it. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to get in Congress. And when people disagree with you, you're going to get on your show and badmouth them, berate them, cry about it. They disagree with what you're doing. And I don't even necessarily think they're wrong in your disagreement. But at the very least, you should be able to see the perspective that they're coming from. You're casting their position as if their position is ridiculous. You're essentially saying, well, these guys they claim to be a progressive group, but they don't really want change. Yeah, they do want change. They just don't want you fucking up the Constitution to get it. Yes, they're a progressive group. Yes, they want change in this country. Yes, they don't believe the way you're going about it is the right way. Are you telling me that there is no room for those two perspectives within the same movement of sorts, or the same thing? And they're not going behind your back trying to keep money in politics. That's not what it is at all. Again, he's casting it a particular way because he disagrees with what they're doing. I really hope this is not the politics that these guys are talking about putting out in Justice Democrats. This is gross. This is gross. This is propaganda for an organization. For all those people who are giving me shit about it, talking about the Justice Democrats, when they're giving their arguments and everything else, that if something happened, that they're not necessarily going to be beholden to their team in the same way that these parties are beholden to their team. This is somebody who's a part of an organization, Wolfpack. He's also head of a news organization, TYT. He's getting on his news organization and is trashing another organization, lying about it at the exact same time he's trashing that organization. Now, you're asking me to full well believe that Uygur, the guy who's sitting here doing propaganda, lying on his news network about another organization that is functioning as a Justice Democrat, he's not going to take the same behaviors. Is that what you're telling me? When he's sitting here doing it right now to another organization, the Common Cause? TYT is supposed to be somewhat separate from Wolfpack, I would imagine. Again, everybody keeps telling me that Justice Democrats and TYT are two different things. He's sitting on the TV, goddammit. He's on TYT. Those are not different things. This guy, right here, in one capacity, Wolfpack, is now using his other capacity to attack a group that was standing in Wolfpack's path. Tell me you don't think that's okay. Tell me you don't think that's okay. Not to mention he's lying about it. It's not so much that I mind him bringing this up. I don't mind it. If you want to bring it up and you want to have an honest talk about it and you want to engage it honestly, that's fine. That's fair game. That's perfectly okay. I don't think any rational human being would say, well, no, Uygur shouldn't do that. But are you telling me that a rational human being would say that Uygur should get on his news show and completely mischaracterize the position of another organization, another progressive organization, and make it look like they're somehow standing in his way? And as they stand in his way, they're trying to go against all of these traditional progressive causes. Look on Common Cause's website. Read their reasons. It has nothing to do with this at all. He's lying.
So I'm asking you to sign this petition. It is at tytnetwork.com/change. I will never support organizations like Common Cause that fight against a convention to get money out of politics.
Ooh, he got a petition. He got a petition. Shit's about to get real. Uygur took out a petition. Bam. Done. Done. That's totally going to stop common cause for trying to challenge your aims now. That's awesome. Come on, man. This is ridiculous. They put petitions out for everything. What do you think those petitions are going to accomplish? You're literally trying. Somebody look up the tape when Republicans were talking about signing a petition that any Democrat or any Republican that signs or votes for a tax increase would essentially get penalized or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. Again, at no point did he engage their argument, honestly. At no point. He wants to sign petitions. You sign your petitions.
Remember what they did in New Mexico. Remember those volunteers who poured their hearts into this, who worked so hard. But I want to end on a positive note. We never give up. We never surrender. So we will fight you in New Mexico. We will fight you in Vermont. We will fight you in Maryland. We will fight you in the red states, and we will win. You're not coming for us. We're coming for you.
You didn't win that one. He lost that one in New Mexico. And again, I'm not against it. Don't think I'm against it. I lean more towards common cause sides. Look, man, I exist in a place where I just assume that I don't know. I do. I find that most things in life aren't ones or zeros. At the very least, there's no way we can perceive how things are going to be completely. You exist in an area of I don't know. Uncertainty. I'm okay with it. I learned to get used to that. At most, I can say, well, I lend on the side of one or the other because I'm more concerned about a particular threat, or at the very least, I could see how something may unfold. Well, yeah, in this particular case, I think common cause is right. There's no way for him to constrain a constitutional convention, a runaway convention. There's no way to do it. A, the convention rules are somewhat murky in general. And B, even if he pass laws to try to constrain those people, that has nothing to do with the person when he gets there and open the Constitution. They can do whatever they want. It's just icky that he's doing it this way. And I suspect that he would have had more bang for the buck if he could have got on the show, honestly, engaged common cause, and explained why he believed this is the best course, and why what they're saying is not legitimate enough reason to prevent him from doing what he's trying to do. He can bring more people on his side that way than just completely lying about their intentions and lying about their objectives. That's all I'm saying. This is sleazy. This is sleazy. I don't like it. Look, I don't particularly hate the Young Turks. I know some people don't particularly like them. I hadn't necessarily noticed some of the sleazy stuff that takes place. This is sleazy. Alright guys, have a good one.